Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome to the VAP family of podcasts.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 43 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Paris. If this is the first time you are hearing this podcast, I just wanted to let you know that what we do is we interview a different veteran-focused nonprofit every single episode so that you could find out what they have to offer to veterans and their family members. I also would like to invite you to go over to facebook.com/veteran resource podcast. Go on, you got time. I'll wait. And like the page. I'm going to be posting some stuff there, maybe some pictures, maybe some articles about some of the organizations that we're interviewing. But in general, it's just going to be a place where I can post things and get them out to you when you're not listening to the episodes. All right, so how many of you have rescued dogs from a shelter before? Today's guest rescues dogs from shelters and then trains them to be service dogs for veterans. How cool is that? Animal trainer Clarissa Black graduated from Cornell University with a Bachelor of Science degree in animal science, and from Canisius College with a master's in Anthrozoology. She discovered her passion for training while working with elephants and dolphins, but gradually realized she wanted to develop relationships with the animals for which she cared. Through her career as a dolphin trainer, Clarissa learned advanced animal training principles and applied them to husbandry, veterinary research, and program training. While working with these unique mammals in the water, she decided to further her work and experience training animals on land and began working as a professional dog trainer. She has been successful developing personalized training and behavior plans, as well as teaching dog obedience. Her motto is set both the owner and the dog up for success. During her experience working with therapy dogs in the company of American veterans and wounded soldiers, she saw firsthand how important animals can be in recovery. She has a unique understanding regarding the training each dog receives, as well as being able to recognize what each veteran needs from his or her companion animal. Pets for Vets Incorporated is Clarissa's way to say thank you to our country's heroes. All right, let's jump right into the interview. Clarissa, welcome to the Veteran Resource Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, very, very excited to have you on. This is one of those organizations that when I first heard about, I was very intrigued with. We haven't really talked to an organization like yours yet, so very, very interested.
Well, I appreciate that. It's hard not to have a lot of support. I mean, a lot of people support our veterans, and a lot of people love animals. So you put the two together, and you have a win-win. Perfect
relationship there. So let's start off by just getting a brief description of what your organization is.
Yes. So we're a national 501c3, and we rescue shelter dogs, and we match them specifically with veterans. We provide training to the dogs and then welcome packages. And all of this is to help our servicemen and women with maybe things like post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, anxiety, and depression.
Excellent. And we're going to get into that a whole lot more. But before we do, let's get a little bit of background on you.
Excellent. My background is I was an animal science major at Cornell University, and I loved animals. I thought I was going to be a veterinarian, and this was my goal. But I realized while in school that I would need to work with some large exotic animals to set myself apart. And I happened to do a few internships with elephants and dolphins. And through my time doing those internships, I really discovered what I loved about working with animals was the relationship that I was developing with the animals. And I realized I didn't want to just see different animals when they were sick or once a year when they needed their vaccination, that I really wanted to be able to develop a relationship based on trust and mutual respect. And then through that relationship, actually be able to provide better care. So the husbandry care, the veterinary care that the animals needed. And so I kind of shifted gears. And after I graduated from Cornell, I ended up moving out to Hawaii, where I was a dolphin trainer for a few years.
Wow. Nice. From elephants to dolphins seems very different.
The big difference is how you clean up after them.
I guess that makes sense. And did you have any connections to the military growing up?
I had different family members who served in the military, and it was basically family. And then I grew up, with some friends who ended up serving after 9/11.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where the connection came in, and that kind of leads me right into how did Pets for Vets get started?
So Pets for Vets, I was doing some work with my dog and some colleagues at a local VA, and we were helping to revamp their therapy dog program. And so while we were there, we had our dogs, and just to see the way that our veterans' faces were lighting up when they would meet the dog, specifically my dog Bear, he's such a ham, and he really loves the attention, and he knows how to sort of work with whoever he is with. So he can be that, his paws up, encouraging if somebody needed that. He could be the really calm, laying on the bed and just being stroked. And it was during those moments, the veterans, smiling as they met him, and they would ask, can we keep him? And I thought to myself, well, why is therapy, 1 hour once a week inside the walls of the VA? Why isn't this 24/7? Now, being an animal trainer and having done some work with different rescue groups and at different shelters, I knew the plight of rescue animals. And I knew that, 4 million animals, dogs and cats, were being euthanized across the country every year. And most of the reason being is that a lot of times people, if they adopted an animal from a shelter, they were picking a dog based on maybe, the way that it looked, and not necessarily how that dog fit into their lifestyle and matched what it is they were looking for from a dog. And then in addition to that, the other problem a lot of people would encounter would be maybe behavioral issues. So after spending some time in a shelter, maybe the dog didn't know where to go to the bathroom or didn't know what to chew on. And so that can cause stress as well. And a lot of these times, the dogs could be returned for that. And so knowing the plight and what was going on and knowing what caused stress, I thought to myself, well, why can't I use my skills to be able to find the right dog for each veteran and then provide each dog with the correct training in order to fit into the veteran's lifestyle, and then also provide a lifeline of support for the veteran. So basically trying to eliminate any of the stress that comes with getting a new pet. And that way to kind of perpetuate that idea of therapy, but at home 24/7 with a companion animal.
Very, very cool. Very cool. And I love the fact that you're using rescue dogs instead of, any others. I mean, rescue dogs are the ones that really need homes, and they could definitely benefit from being properly trained. So it seems like this fits together so perfectly. But from the veteran standpoint, why do you feel it's important for the veteran to have a companion dog?
Well, there's a lot of research behind companion dogs and how they help. But what I've found so significant and unique about our program is that we're finding it's almost like a matchmaking service. Like we're finding the right dog for the right veteran. And I think the veterans feel a unique kinship with the rescue animals because they feel like these animals have been through so much and they sort of have that connection, that same connection. And actually one of my veterans said to me, if they can heal, we can heal. And so I think it's really, two groups helping each other. And I think that really bolsters the connection between our veterans and our dogs.
Wow, that's huge. I know that you said that you kind of started out working with the VA. Do you work with the VA on a regular basis?
So our programs are located across the country, and any of our programs that they're around local VAs can definitely give recommendations and to let their clients know that we are out there in a program that they can participate in. But we don't necessarily work with the VA exclusively.
I see. Gotcha. Okay, so when you go into these shelters, there's a lot of dogs there. How do you choose the right dogs to be trained?
Yes. This is one of the unique elements about our program, and it's something that makes us so highly successful, is the way that we select our dogs. So we actually meet our veterans first, and we meet our veterans, and we find out what's going on with them, what it is they're looking for in a dog, how they want to be interacting with their dog, and some of the ideas of temperament of what they think would fit with them. And then we work with them to find sort of what type of dog would fit into their lifestyle. And then once we have that idea, then we'll go and take a look at the shelters or the different rescue groups to find the right dog. And something that we're really looking for is a highly social dog, a dog that's really in tune to humans. And so part of this is how we both create what I call a super bond. So our animals bond really, really closely with our veterans because of the way that we select them, and then because of the way that we train them and how we teach our clients, our veterans, how to work with their animals.
So you don't just train the animal itself, you train both the veteran and the animal together.
Correct. So we'll work with the dogs. We use something called positive reinforcement, non-force-based training, which is devised to create a bond, but also to do it based on mutual trust and respect. So our animals want to work with us because of that relationship that we're building. And so we teach the animals, most of them are learning, basic things that they need, or, basic manners, but some of them also learn things that could be so useful for their particular veteran. And then once those behaviors are taught to the dog, then we need to teach those to our client, our veterans, so that they know how to interact with their dog and to increase that super bond that we're establishing.
Oh, very interesting. So it's very specific to the veteran themselves, what kind of training they might get.
Correct. It's unique. So it's not just a one-size-fits-all program. It's tailored specifically to each veteran and specifically to each dog for that veteran.
That's great. And the veterans that are getting these companion dogs, it's not just veterans who have PTSD or traumatic brain injury. It's all different types of veterans?
Correct. So any veteran with a condition that could benefit from having a companion animal and is able to take care of an animal is eligible for our program.
Oh, that's great. And what areas of the country do you actually cover?
Yes. So we we have chapters in 35 locations.
Oh, wow.
And that would include Arizona, California, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Maine, Michigan, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Texas, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. But I do want to state with that our program is, we're really looking to, we don't cover the entire state yet. We're looking to be able to do that. But our program, what we want to make sure that we provide is a trainer that is close by to our veterans. So if they have any questions or need any follow-up training or have any issues or concerns that need to be addressed, that we have a trainer who is nearby to be able to address that. So currently within these states, the coverage area is there's a little bit smaller pockets than the entire state, but we're working on expanding and do hope to be able to cover, all 50 states and any veteran who is looking for a companion in the future.
And do you pretty much train the trainers when you get new trainers in different states?
So we do. We are looking for trainers who already are trainers, who are animal trainers. We do have a vetting process for that to make sure that we're getting qualified trainers who follow our positive reinforcement, non-force-based mentality. But what we do is very unique. So we do train each of the trainers on the way that we operate, the way that we select dogs, and how we work with our clients. That way they can follow our model. But all of our trainers are actually dog trainers first, or animal trainers first, and then we train them on our process.
Well, that makes sense. You're not starting from square one and going forward. They've already got the basic training, if you will.
Yes, correct.
Before they come to you.
Many wonderful, wonderful trainers, and we could not do what we do without all of the trainers and all of our fosters and our volunteers across the country.
Oh, that's great. And so for somebody who might be a trainer and they want to get in contact, do they go to the website? Do they shoot you an email? What's the best way for them to get plugged in?
They can go right onto our website, and it's petsforvets.com, and they can there's a button on the right-hand side where they can ask to volunteer, and they can apply right there and indicate that they're interested in being a trainer, and we will then send a trainer survey out to them to fill out and start the process from there.
And so that doesn't have to be in an area where there's currently a chapter. They could look at starting their own chapter, correct? Correct.
Absolutely. If we don't have a chapter in their area, please don't hesitate to contact us anyway. This is how we do expand, is having people who are very motivated and interested in having a chapter in their area contact us. And we have a really great team in place who will then help to form that chapter in the area.
Excellent. Are there any special things that you might be training these dogs to do?
Mm-hmm. So again, it depends on the veteran. And it also depends on each of the specific chapters. So these aren't behaviors that we necessarily guarantee, but some of our dogs have actually been trained to wake up from nightmares. To create what we call a bubble of space. So to help either stay in front or in back, to kind of create a little feeling of security or safety, or like a check my six behavior. Mm-hmm. But something that I love talking about is that these are behaviors that we can train, but because of the way that we select our dogs specifically for each veteran, and then because of the way that we train our dogs to create that super bond, we've noticed that a lot of our dogs actually start offering these behaviors on their own, even without being trained, because they're really in tune to their veteran, and they start to pick up on what their veteran needs and then start to offer those behaviors. So I've actually had veterans tell me when we didn't do a night bear behavior, call me and say, oh my gosh, I had a night terror last night and my dog woke me up and she stood over me until I was calm and relaxed. And to me, that's the really incredible part about this program, is we really are selecting the right match for our clients.
That's really cool. And so you said before that the people that could benefit from this, that really any veteran who feels like a companion dog would better their situation, they could apply for this.
Correct. Absolutely. And they could go online to ourpetsforvets.com, and there's, again, another button right there that says for veterans. You hit that and you can apply, and hopefully within one of our service areas, and then we will get that to the correct location.
Excellent. And if there isn't a area in there, or a chapter in their area, could they still send you something and say, hey, when you get a chapter, I would like to be on a list? Or
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we definitely do offer that option. We will respond and say that we don't have a location in the area at the moment, but we would keep their application on hand and let them know when we do.
Very cool. What I would love to hear right now, Clarissa, is some of your success stories.
This is actually one of my favorite parts about the program. Is something that I love so much about this is it's not just, a program and here's a dog and good luck. What I love about it is I actually become really good friends with the veterans that I work with. And I love receiving messages. I'll get text messages every day, pictures of the veterans out with their dogs doing something new, whether it's, getting married and being invited to a wedding, or going to a baseball game for the first time, or being able to travel. All of those is what it just really, inspires me to keep going. So one of my favorite stories is one of my veterans. He told me that his heart and his soul is what died in Iraq, and that when he came home, he just really didn't care. He didn't care about, other people around him. And it's, he still loved his family and everything, but he didn't care about other people's feelings. And that, he came to Pets for Vets and he expected, a dog to be able to help him with PTSD. So feeling, hyper vigilant and those things. But what he didn't expect is what he got. And that was a dog to sort of open up the window to his heart and his soul, sort of navigate that minefield and pull him out of that. And through the learning to love his dog, he was then able to transfer that love to the people around him. And he's actually now engaged to be married, and he's just in a fantastic place. And it's just so wonderful to see him with his dog. And he also likes to talk about the bond that he developed with his dog, that it's not just, a man and his dog. He feels so intimately connected to his dog. It's almost like he describes it like that avatar connection, where his dog senses, he senses what he senses, his dog senses. And so he feels like, they're connected by that leash. It's almost like their umbilical cord. And he just feels this really, really strong bond and connection to his dog.
Wow. And to think this was a dog that was, for lack of a better term, on death row,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
and this dog has completely changed this veteran's life.
They've changed each other's lives. It's incredible. I've had veterans tell me that on the first day that they received their dog, they met more people and interacted with more people on that day than they had the entire previous year. I've had veterans, communicate being on less medication, being able to sleep at night. One of my other favorite stories is a veteran that I worked with. He wasn't able to sleep. He had not been able to sleep since he had returned home from combat. And he had nightmares, but it was just very, very difficult for him to fall asleep. And the first day that I brought his dog over to him and he met his dog for the first time, we bring a bunch of equipment for them as well. So it's a welcome package with everything they need: food, bowls, leashes, toys, crates, all of that stuff. And one of the things in the package was a bed. I put the bed down on the ground, and the dog crawled over and lay down on the bed. He went over and laid down on the bed next to his dog, and he held her paw. And you could just hear this sigh and all this air sort of expel and this tension release from him. And they took a nap together. And that
Wow.
first month, he said with his dog that she was actually a dog we had trained to recognize a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that first month, she was waking him up from his nightmares. And that after the month, that he actually stopped having those nightmares, because just knowing that she was there and knowing that she would wake him up, it made him relax more. And he did not have the nightmares that he had been having. And he said, that without Pets for Vets, he would have become another statistic.
Wow. That's really powerful. If you're a listener out there and you're listening to this and you're one of the many people who are having these horrible nightmares, maybe this is for you. So let me ask you this, and this is a little bit selfish because I'm allergic to dogs.
Yes.
Is there anything that somebody like me could do?
Yes. There are a lot of things, actually. So I don't know. Are you allergic to every type of dog? That would be my first thing, is trying to find some dogs people are less allergic to. For myself, for example, I'm actually allergic to animals, and I'm an animal
Really?
trainer. Yes. But
Wow.
what I've discovered is my dogs are actually long-haired dogs. So maybe it's my own sort of opinion, but I feel like that long fur kind of keeps the dander underneath the fur. And I personally, I'm allergic to the dander, not the fur. So if the dander is underneath the fur, then I don't actually have that allergy. There are some dog breeds out there that are a little bit more, or I guess less allergen causing. They don't provoke as many allergy issues because it's a different fur type. And then there's obviously some dogs out there that don't have any fur. But beyond that, we Pets for Vets will even place any animal that is a legal pet within the area or within that state. So if maybe an animal with fur is not quite for you, we could find an animal without fur that might fit.
Interesting. Very interesting. Are there different types of or certain types of dogs that you think you'll be able to train much better, or that would work out better for veterans over other dogs?
Great question. So we actually don't select based on breed. We select based on temperament. So we're looking for a specific temperament in the dogs that we're looking for. So I kind of started to explain that a little bit when we do our evaluations. We're looking for the highly human social dogs. And then we're looking for a certain type of energy level. But we also do kind of test to see, what their learning process is. But it's not necessarily a dog. It's the temperament that we're looking for.
Interesting. And so that could be a tiny little dog. It could be a great big dog.
Yeah, yes, it could. And I've placed, and also in many of the chapters across the country, dogs from a Chihuahua all the way up to Mastiff. So you get the small to the large. It's the temperament of dog that we're looking for.
That's awesome. And what about if there's people out there that are listening to this that don't really fit into the equation? They don't really need help from a pet, but they love what you're doing. Do you have bring volunteers in or get help from people in other ways?
We do. We absolutely would love to have volunteers. So volunteers can help us in many different ways. I would suggest going on to our website again there and finding the volunteer application and filling that out. If you're within a local region where we have a chapter, then there's always different events that you can go to. Also, we're looking for fosters. So maybe you only want to have a dog for a couple of months at a time, but those fosters are really, really important for our training process. And you would work closely with our trainers to ensure that the dog is receiving the training that they need. But that helps us quite a bit. And then if you're not within one of our regions, don't hesitate to apply either, because we might be able to find something that you could do on more of a national basis, sort of at-home basis, maybe helping with some social media or other things of that nature.
Excellent. And are you primarily funded through donations?
Donations and grants, yes.
Okay. So there's always an opportunity for people to help out through donations.
Correct.
And they could hit the website and donate as well?
Absolutely. Right there on that front page, it'll say donate. So if you're interested in making a donation, petsforvets.com, please.
Perfect. All right, Clarissa, I think we're going to get into the final three, but I couldn't let you go there without first mentioning. So I was doing my research, as I like to do before an interview, and trying to find a profile picture that I could use for some of the graphics. And I found one. And it was a card, for lack of a better term. It was a football card with you on it as the quarterback.
Yes.
And you have to tell us that story.
I played a quarterback for a women's tackle football league in California.
And that was recently?
That was 2 seasons ago. That particular team actually had to fold this year. but it was one of the most incredible experiences. The ladies that I met there on the team, I wouldn't have changed it for anything. Such camaraderie and support, playing a game that I've loved since I was a small child.
That's quite amazing. So you train elephants, you train dolphins, you train dogs, you train veterans, and you play football. You're kind of like a Renaissance woman.
I enjoy doing fun things, camping, hiking, making sure I have some fun in my spare time.
Awesome. Okay, I think we're going to get into the final three now.
Okay.
All right, question number 1. Who would you like to hear on a future episode of the Veteran Resource Podcast?
I'm going to go with Gary Sinise.
You know, you are the second person that has recommended that, and I've reached out to them. And hello, Gary Sinise Foundation, if you're listening to this, or if you know somebody connected to them, I would love to have you on the show. I might have to reach out to you again. I'll just keep sending them until they send me cease and desist letters or something. Excellent. Okay, question number 2. What upcoming project has you fired up right now?
Yes. So a project that I just started with 2 researchers. We are actually working to study the benefits of companion animals on veterans with PTSD and potentially veterans who have thought about suicide. And so this is something that I'm very, very excited about. We put in a proposal for a grant from HABRI, which is the Human Animal Bond Research Initiative. And we're very excited to hear about that and hopefully get that grant and be able to quantify with scientific research all the benefits that all of our veterans have been telling us throughout the years about our program.
That would be huge. That would definitely help out. Okay, the final question. If you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization, what would you do with it?
Yes, I would hire more trainers across the country because it really is the trainers that are the backbone of our program. The more trainers that we have, the more veterans that we can work with and the more animals we can rescue and train for our veterans. So I would hire more trainers and make sure that every veteran across the country who is interested in a Pets for Vets dog could have one.
That is outstanding. And I know that there's somebody out there that's listening that has $10 million, and you're not going to do anything better with it than what Clarissa just told you. So why don't you go over to the website, hit the donate button, and drop it in there?
Thank you. We would appreciate that for sure.
And for that person or for anybody else out there that wants to get in contact with you, what is the best way?
Again, go through our website. There's a Contact Us button, and that will distribute the email to the best person within the organization to be able to answer that question for you.
Great. And I will make sure that I put all of the links to get to the website and everything else into the show notes to make it nice and easy for people to get to you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Clarissa. This was really awesome. I love what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much for having us and helping us get the word out there that there are different types of programs out there to help all of our veterans.
Great. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 43 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. I have a feeling you really enjoyed this one, and if you did, you should totally share it with everybody you know. They want to hear it too, don't they? Also, make sure you get over to the show notes page at veteranpodcast.com/043, where we will have links to Clarissa and to the organization. You can get plugged in and help out or take advantage of what Pets for Vets has to offer. That's all I have for this episode. We will see you in episode 44.